Gospel.
Joining me, I have Derek Miner, an award-winning Christian rapper, screenwriter, entrepreneur, producer, actor. You one of them people that just do everything very well, which is commendable, man. Very commendable. You've got millions of views on YouTube on your music. You've got a following of over 300,000 people. Sorry, um,
Uh-huh.
and now you're here with me. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's my pleasure. I love I love getting to chat, you know what I'm saying, with people, especially across the pond, you know what I'm saying? So I haven't been there in a minute. It's been a minute since I've been over to the UK. I gotta get back over there.
You know, when we're allowed to fly, I'm not sure what the rules are in the US right now. When we're allowed to fly out, man.
It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. We're starting to loosen some restrictions, but I think just how poorly we handled the pandemic early on, I think there's gonna be a little lag for us before we're able for countries you know, feel privy to let us in, which is cool, it's all good. It's
Yeah.
all good.
I mean, it's the same for us. We handled it apparently one of the worst in the entire world. So, yeah, apparently people in the rest of Europe are laughing at us as England because we just handled it so badly.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but what can you do, man? What can you do?
Exactly. Yep.
Like life. We here to talk about something in particular. Something that I came across when I was scrolling on my Twitter, and it is about how Christians we balance our humanity and our following of Christ. Um,
Yeah.
this is something that I found myself having to do. I do comedy, and so for me,
Mm.
I often have people say, "You can't make jokes like that. Aren't you a Christian?" Or if I say certain things, they'll kind of remind me that I'm a Christian. I'm like,
Right.
okay, I get it, I know. But
Yeah.
yourself into a bit of a, you have to find your own line. But I saw you tweet. So you made a tweet after Derek Chauvin was sentenced um about him not dropping the soap. You also had another word in that, which I'm not going to repeat the word.
We'll leave that off of the Premier Gospel UK. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
figure it out. But
Yeah.
it's 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 one of the ones that got a lot of backlash. So there were people that were saying, you know, as expected, wow, this isn't very Christ-like. There were people that were saying,
Yeah.
this is not what you meant to do as a Christian. But then there were other people on the other side that said, actually, I applaud this. This is a human thing, and so I wanted to talk to you about that and about being a public figure and about how you manage that because it must be really difficult to manage your humanity, as it were, in the public.
Yeah. 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 I feel like we have a perspective of like artists that consider themselves Christians that we want to build them up to be superheroes, but not the superheroes that, like, I remember they said Batman. I remember Batman when they were talking about Batman. It was like, Batman's not the hero that we want. He's the hero we deserve, right? So, but everyone wants the hero that they want, right? So they want my morals and standards to match up with them and their interpretation of scripture and their interpretation of culture and all those different things. And so as a public figure, I have two choices, right? I can either try to match, like you said, over 300,000 people's different standards for me, or I can just live a human life, right? So for the people that, when I said that felt like it wasn't Christ-like, I wouldn't rebut them, because in their perspective of what they've read, the narrative of Christ, that's how he is. And hey, that's their opinion, right? So for the people that said that, hey, I get it, it's a human thing, he's okay, I wouldn't disagree with them either. Like, because at the end of the day, like, Christians have a very black and white perspective on the world, but there's very few things in the world, in my perspective, that are black and white. There's very few things that are black and white, right? So what happens is we all create these criteria that we feel like that we live by, that are our standards, which are great. Everyone should have a personal code and a personal standard. But what we want to do is hold people to that. And we say, well, I've gathered that my standard is the closest standard to what Christ would be. So you should match up to this. So when someone does something that is outside of that sphere, we don't think, okay, this is not what I would do. We think that that has violated God himself, right? And I just think that that's a very arrogant, honestly, approach to faith, like, in my opinion.
I agree with some things, but then I wanted to ask about what some people may say to this. So, what you said, was that
Yeah.
outside or inside of what you would say was Christ like? Was that a moment of weakness, or was that something that you think is just okay to say?
I don't know. I'm still grasping with how I feel about the Derek Chauvin case in general. I'm still grasping with how I feel about black people getting shot by police and never getting justice. I'm still grasping how I feel with at 11 years old watching my grandfather get beat by 6 cops on his property. I'm still wrestling with that. So to be honest, I have no clue. Like, and I think that that's the thing is people. I'm okay. I get backlash because I'm okay with just saying this is what I think, but I'm not. I won't censor myself or pretend that I'm something I'm not. Like if I feel a way, I'm okay with saying this is how I feel, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's where I'm at right now. Like I may look back on that tweet, 3 weeks from now, and say, "Man, that was a dumb decision." But is that not human, right? Is that not human, Cass?
Mm.
That how many times that if you go back and look through your life 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 years ago, right? You look back and say, "Dang, I probably shouldn't have did that." Or you look back and say, "Dang, I wish I would have did more of that." You know what I'm saying? Like, so to be real, at this point right now, I don't know. That's just where I felt in the moment. That's how I felt. And people tried to make it seem like when I said don't drop the soap, that I'm advocating for this man to get raped. And I'm like, I'm clearly not advocating for him to get raped. Like, if dropping the soap is now, first off, people, it's a euphemism and it's satire. So if everyone that drops the soap in a prison doesn't get raped. Duh. Right? So then at the same time, but say that was the criteria that anyone in the prison that drops the soap gets raped. Like I said, don't do it. Like, so there's no way I'm advocating for this man for that. That's the only thing I think out of the whole thing that bothered me. But the thing I also realized that when people have a narrative in their mind about someone, they tend to think the worst about that person, right? So Donald Trump was president for the past 4 years, and there was people that would, no matter what that man said. Now, I'm not a Donald Trump supporter, but no matter what that man said, they took it to the most extreme to where we make people into monsters and don't think rational about what they're saying, right? But it's like, because I don't like you, I'm going to find the thing that I think is the worst possible thing you could mean, and I'm going to say, this is what you meant. And it's like, clearly I didn't mean that, right? That's the only thing. If there was a thing that bothered me, that would be the only thing that bothered me. But outside of everything else, it's like, hey, how you feel about my language or where I felt at the moment, that's your opinion. Just because it's your opinion, it doesn't make it true. It just means that's your opinion. Like, just because you say something does not make it true, right?
Yeah, I completely understand that. I think it makes sense. I think when it came to the salt part, because it is one of them things that people say, it's not. It's like I kind of get where you're coming from with it, but I understand why people would say you're wishing that on him, because people do that. If someone says don't drop the soap, it's like in a jokey way to say, well, don't do it because you know what's gonna happen. It's kind of like that, and I think that's how people maybe
For
thought
sure.
were saying it like. And yeah, I mean, do you think as
And
well?
I get it too. I don't fault them for that either. I
Mm.
don't fault them for feeling that way. If they felt that way, that's how they feel. Like I would never fault them for that. But I feel like I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, no, I was carry on, please.
Oh yeah, no, I would say I wouldn't fault people for feeling that way. But just because they feel that that's what I meant, that doesn't mean that that's what I meant, right? So the only way to know what I meant is to do what?
Ask.
Ask.
Mm.
It's the only way to know. It's the only way to know. And
Yeah.
then if I give you an answer, because people did ask, and I told them I told them what I meant. But if they don't believe it, then what else is there for me to do?
Mm.
Right. And there goes the human aspect. I've come to the idea that I cannot control all 300,000 people that are following me. I can't control what they think about me. There's people that follow me literally just to harass me. And that's okay. That's, I mean, hey, if that's what gets them off and that's what wakes them up in the morning, that seems like a pretty sad thing. But if I would never follow someone just to disagree with them, but if that's what they do, that's what they do. And then there's people that think everything that I do is right, and it's like, no, everything I do is not right. I am human. I am not Jesus. I'm impulsive at times. I'm I'm short fused at times. I'm working on it. If you knew me 10 years ago, you say, man, he's a lot better than he was then. But I'm like, we have to, I feel like people need to stop looking at people in these extreme lenses as if everything they do is right. Like, I'm watching people right now twist themselves into pretzels to try to prove that every decision Joe Biden makes is correct. It's like, it's not. It's not. He's just making decisions. And there's people that I watch twist themselves into pretzels to say that everything that, Donald Trump did was awful, or everything that I'm just a human. We're all, me, you, everybody listening to this broadcast right now, we're all just trying to figure it out.
So
That's what it
is the way that I always see it when things like this happen, because this happened, a similar thing happened with Kirk Franklin a few weeks ago, in that there
Yeah.
was a recording that went round and he was cussing his son, and everyone was like, oh, but you're a Christian. And I always see it as you are a human, everyone is human, and everyone is just living out their humanity. The thing is about people like yourself, who has so many people following you, is that you are living out your humanity in full view. And especially with things like the George Floyd murder and all of these different things, it's almost like people expect you to censor your humanity to please
Yeah.
them. Whereas
Yeah.
it's difficult. It's a really hard thing to censor and not say what you actually might feel. And like you said, impulses might just take over and you might say something. And that is just how you feel in that moment. And that is what it is.
Yeah. It's what it is. And I think that, it's multi-layered. Because I think, I've spent a lot of my career in the CCM evangelical world, and that came with a lot of trauma. Like, if I was to tell you some of the, like, I told my mama this. I said, I started being vocal about. I've always been vocal about Black rights. You can go to my first album, The Blackout, which probably came out, I think, over 10 years ago, right? And I've always, the things I talk about now, I talked about then, right? But when I got signed to Reach and I was with Reach, they have more of an evangelical perspective. So, and I was also being discipled at the time. So a lot of my music was really Bible forward and less culture and society forward. So I was talking more just about the scriptures as opposed to what the scriptures mean for real life is what was happening, right? So that gave me, and then also being signed to Reach, just by default, I got a certain fan base that only expected that from me, but that's never been who I am. So when I started talking about Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, it created all of these like microaggressions towards me. And when I first started, I would try to be so rational. Like, I'd write these long blog posts and I'd say, this is why you should treat Black people human. And this is why you should treat Black people like human. This is why God implores you never to, you should not be okay with Black people getting shot by police and choked out. And this is what slavery has done. And I said it so eloquently or whatever. And you know what? If you were to go through those posts, the comment section from Don't Drop the Soap is the exact same. It's no different. It's no different. There's a few people in there. There's a few, I think it's a little more inflamed because of the last word that I used, right? So there's people that, and that's why I dropped the apology. Some people think I dropped the apology because I was upset about, or that I felt impulsive about, like, what I said. It's not that. I dropped it because my mom made a great point. She's a very conservative Christian. And, she's the first person that called me before anybody called me. And I told her, I said, no matter what I do, this is what the outcome is going to be. And like she said, she made a great point. She said, there's people that don't know you like that, and they're just surprised that you would use that kind of language. So I apologize for people like my mom who are like, yo, we're passionate with you about Black rights and things of that nature, but the way you said that hurt us because we don't know that you talk like that, and it was a shocker. That's where it came from. Racist Christians, I still don't care what you think. Like, I could care less. And I'm not slowing down. I'm gonna stay where I'm at, right? Like, I don't care about that. Like, as far as my language is concerned, I'm 37, Cass. Like, I'm gonna say what I want to say. Like, that's just what it's gonna be. I don't care what you think. Like, I'm a grown man. Like, you know what I mean? So, and the thing is, I'm okay if that puts me in a place where there's certain people that are like, we don't like him because of his language, or we don't like him because of his, like, I came to terms with, if someone doesn't like me that I speak out on Black rights, then I don't want that type of person in my circle. And then if I have to censor myself to a place where I can't even talk without people dissecting everything, I don't necessarily want those people in my circle either. I just want people that think like me and all of that. That's what we want on social media, right? Like, you want people that are connected, that feel the same way you feel. So there's an audience of people that feel like the church has left them in the dust, that don't speak to their issues, and they're upset, they're angry, they're mad, they're frustrated, they're hurt. I speak for them. That's who I speak for. I don't speak for the people that got it together. Like, literally this week, I just had a close family member of mine, his life has changed forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I talk about the streets, I'm connected to people. Like, I've been spending my whole life trying to pull people out of the gutter. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, when I'm here doing the work, I don't care what somebody that's in the glass tower somewhere away from the dirt thinks. It doesn't matter, because that's not who I'm speaking for. I'm speaking for the person that's at the bottom. I'm speaking for that person that got family that they trying to pull out the gutter, and they frustrated because the more you try to pull them out the gutter, the more they run into the gutter. And then at the same time, you also got, while you're trying to pull them out the gutter, you got people in the glass house throwing rocks down from the top of the glass house. I don't care about them. I'm in the gutter with the people trying to get them out. You know what I mean? And that's who I speak for. Everybody else, you're welcome to be a part of the journey, but you're not necessarily my target. So I don't really care about how you feel about my language. I mean, it's just where I'm at with it, you know?
Yeah, I think you just put that in great words, man, and I think it makes complete sense in that you speak to who you speak to. What would you say to people that maybe say that you, in doing things like that, so the people that you're not talking to are obviously watching what you're doing, and you may be the picture for what people think a Christian's meant to be. um is it that you're not talking to those people either? Is it that you're focusing on who you're talking to? You're not trying to, you didn't ask to be, what's the word, like the poster boy for Christianity. You just are as you are, and that's kind of it. Because I think a lot of people, when you are in the public and you are open Christian, and that's what you are, people do put you in that position. You are now the poster boy for this. Is it that you're
Yeah.
trying to be that? And that's kind of where it is.
Take me off the poster and put Jesus up there.
Mm.
Don't look at me. Take me off. Put Jesus on the poster. Like, I'm like you. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm reading a book that's over 2,000 years old, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing today. And I'm trying to get as much knowledge and wisdom and listening to the Holy Spirit as best I can. And I'm going to make mistakes on that journey. I will let you down. So don't make me the poster boy for that. Make me the poster boy for somebody that's just trying his best. That's, if you're going to put me on a poster, be like, this is Derek. He tried his best. He's doing the best he can with what he has, considering where he came from. I will co-sign that poster. Yeah. Don't put me on the Christianity poster board. I'm not him. Like, I'm not the super Christian. I'm never gonna be, you know.
You ever feel pressure for people's spiritual states? Because as someone that is in the public eye and someone that is a follower of Christ, some people may, still young people, may look at you and think, okay, let me model my life after his. Do you feel that pressure to to help people's spiritual states?
Nah, I am I am doing my best. Learn from my mistakes and learn from my wins. Don't model me. Like, no one goes to 50 Cent for spiritual advice. I'm a rapper. Like, I'm a rapper. I'm not your pastor. You don't know me. Like, and I think that that's the issue. The celebrity Christianity thing has created something that is somewhat of a, it creates those situations, right? So I know people that are popular Christians, um, and this should not be a surprise to anyone, that have deep dark struggles, but their financial livelihood literally is tied to the celebrity Christian thing. So what happens is guys hide. They don't, girls hide, women hide, guys hide. And they hide these struggles because they know, if I was to tell someone I'm struggling, I'd lose everything. And then now, rather than me have this struggle that no one knows about, now I gotta go. Now, I gotta go find another career. This is hard, finding another career if you've ever built anything. It's not as easy as just snapping your fingers. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you get up in age, right? So you got these guys that are 50, 60 years old, pastors or whatever, that have these issues, and they're pouring out, helping everybody, but nobody ever stops to think, do you need help? Who stops to think, does Kirk Franklin need help? Right? And that whole debacle with him and his family, right? And they're seeing a psychiatrist. No one stop to think, like, man, you know what? Kirk might need a break. And not a break in a way of us doing some sort of church discipline that, Kirk, you need to sit down for using that kind of language. But like, nah, this man might legit need us to hold him up for a little bit and let him get some rest so he could deal with his son, right? No one stops to think, man, Carl Lentz might, like, Carl, are you good? Are you cool, man? I saw, like, no one stops to do that because you're the superhero, right? And I refuse to be that. Like, you're not gonna make me be some sort of superhero that's not a human. I'm gonna go get my help. I'm gonna live my life, and I'm gonna be the flawed individual I am in private and in person. Like, that's just what it is. And I think because of this dehumanization, I think it's a dehumanization when you begin to um, make this fantasy character around Christian celebrities. You're dehumanizing them. You're not allowing them to be human. And I understand, even the scriptures say, man shouldn't desire to teach because he'll incur stricter judgment. That wasn't a spiritual thing. That's just, the more popular you are, the more influence you have, you're going to get stricter judgment. So that's why when there's 1,300 comments on a Twitter post and a lot of them are negative, it's like, hey, I'm in this position that comes along with it, but I'm not going to let opinions of strangers dehumanize me, though.
I think it makes complete sense, and it is a valid point of asking the person, "Are you good? Do you need any kind of help?" You know, yeah, I think that's such a valid point. I want to ask one more thing as well. Do you think
Okay.
doing things like this helps to create a more authentic church? Because whenever I look at church, like the general church, I always see a
Yeah.
bit like these people trying to act perfect and everyone's trying to be, you know, perfection. Whereas when
Yeah.
people just do real things, it for me has like a little authenticity to it. And I'm like, okay, it's human. We're humans.
Yeah.
Do you think that we need to live out our humanity more in public rather than trying to hide it all away and act like we're perfect people? And in turn, would that create a more authentic Christian walk for people that are just coming into it to know that you don't have to hide all of these things away?
Mm.
You're a person.
Mm. Yeah, I feel as though um I feel as though for those that want that, then yes, I think that is good. But I think there's also some people that run to Christianity to hide. They run from it to escape. Like it's an escape to be able to say, well, hey, at least I'm not as bad as I used to be, or at least I'm not bad as that guy. You know what I mean? That's just my how I see it. For some people, anybody that like when the most judgmental people, I always say they got some really, really dark skeletons, because people that have been broken aren't really judgmental, because they're like, I'm just trying to make it too. But for the people that are extremely judgmental, I'm like, oh yeah, you got some, either you super self-righteous, or you got something to really, really high, right? Um, so, but I think for people, like, again, I I'm in this with people. Like, I don't want to be above people. I'm in this with you. If you have one follower on Twitter and no one knows who you are, and you just work your job at whatever accounting firm or whatever, I'm the same as you. And I hope that my freedom to be a whole human being allows you to have that freedom for yourself, to know that you don't have to be the perfect guy. Far as for the church, I don't really know. I think for some people, people go to church for different reasons. So I think that could be inspiring for people that want to see human, but I don't think everybody wants full humanity. That it's too ugly for them.
Well, thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. I really wanted this to be a live chat as well, but it couldn't be today.
Yeah,
Hopefully we can do something again in the future.
it's love. You got my connect. I'm here whenever. You know what I'm saying? Definitely respect and love what you guys are doing over there. So definitely hit me whenever.
Premier Gospel.